Hello, my friends, and thank you for joining us today for Spiritual Toolkit, where we discuss life's diversity, challenges, and blessings. My name is Brock Ford, and I am your host. Joining me today on the team is producer Peter Millar, and a shout out to our new Thought Media Network founder and director, Robert Brzezinski. The idea for this show came from my sincere desire to be of a support and a voice for the disenfranchised, the struggling, and hurting people within my reach, to offer spiritual and ethical practices that help others transform their lives, relationships, and their careers. My belief is that together we can build a bridge of understanding, healing, and equality for all, no exceptions. And to this point, we will have guests from all walks of life discussing real life and navigating its twists and turns. And you're invited to join us each week and to participate on the chat if you have questions or comments. So let's get started. Today, my guests are Kirk Prine and Donnie Lowbury. Dr. Kirk Prine is a body story life coach, an integrative body worker, a Reiki master, a ritual master, a former psychotherapist, a primary facilitator of Flesh and Spirit Community, and co-founder of the Missing Thread Mystery School. He's the author of Erotic Body Prayer and has been a civil rights activist, an LGBTQ activist, an AIDS activist, and currently is part of the resistance. Kirk's own story as a sexual abuse survivor allowed him to develop extraordinary gifts of listening and seeing beyond what is apparent. As well, mystical experiences and learning in the behavioral sciences have grounded Kirk as a healer in the Missing Thread, which teaches the wisdom to set you free resides within the body. Kirk's 5 years in seminary and 7 years in graduate studies taught him to ask questions about holistic healing. Exploring across spiritual traditions and gathering the best scientific understanding of how healing takes place has been Kirk's passion and purpose. And you can also check them out at themissingthread.com, themissingthread.com. And then his husband, Donnie Lowbury, is a certified massage therapist also joining us today. He's also a certified physical trainer, a body story life coach, a yoga teacher. He's also a Reiki master, a violinist and violist. He's a vibrational sound healer and co-founder of the Missing Thread Mystery School along with Kirk. Donnie's also a midwife to the dying and assists the terminally ill with their birthing into death. And I love that phrase, birthing into death. Donnie utilizes his channeled violin and viola music to assist in that healing that he facilitates. Donnie says these mystical experiences have one important thing in common. They were all activations felt through the body. All these experiences laid down the foundation of his current work as a body story expert. And y'all, he speaks 12 languages, and his skills and life experience call people to liberation and to joy. So with that said, help me welcome Kirk and Donnie. Thank you for joining the show.
We're so happy to be here.
Yes, we're delighted, Brock.
Yes.
Oh, I'm so delighted that you're here, very much so. It's a pleasure to have you. I believe we're going to have a really interesting conversation and really help some people understand more about their own spirituality. And I think that's sort of the purpose of it. But before we get into all of that, why don't you both tell us a little bit about you, your relationship, when y'all met, when you got married? Give us a little bit of insight into both of you.
Well, sure. Let's see. We met on Craigslist.
Yeah.
Yes. That many years ago, 2005, and I remember seeing the ad there on the men looking for men, and it seemed like someone who just wanted to have a little fun, but seemed like a little deeper than that. But so I met Kirk, and we got along real well. But we neither of us had any idea that we were going to get married or any desire to get married. We just had fun. So we just had fun and kept seeing each other. But, we kind of knew there was a little connection, but that's okay. We're just going to have fun. Never mind. And over time, it just kind of grew into something. And it kind of surprised me, how things happened. And, so that's kind of the basic of it. And I had my own mystical experiences in the meantime, as we were getting to know each other. And as a result of all that, we when Kirk said, "You want to marry me?" I said, "Yes."
You had to stop and think for a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, marriage was not something on either of our shopping lists. We were just totally
Mhm.
happy and satisfied
Mhm.
with our lives, and pursuing our healing paths separately. And when we found each other, my short story of meeting Donnie was, of course, is good gay queer men that we were. We had a date, and here we are, and we laid down together for a moment, and I had a vision, and the vision was actually of the opera house in Sydney, Australia. And I said, Donnie, have you? And he said, oh, yeah, I've been to Australia. Da, da, da. I said, well, I don't know why it came up, but here I am, kind of having a vision. And then Donnie's telling me about how he had just had this amazing experience of a woman who had Alzheimer's, and how he saw the face of we call the beloved, the Christ consciousness in her. And so, needless to say, what started off being a play date for both of us, I knew from the very moment we met, something much more expansive and extraordinary was happening. And in fact, I'll cut a moment. We have a teacher, Shankari the alchemist, who lives in Bali, Indonesia, and she had us over there, and while we were there, or while we were with her, one of her friends was a Wiccan practitioner, a witch, and she said, upon meeting us, she said, Kirk and Donnie, this is what I read instantly, is
Hmm.
you guys have been together so many different lifetimes and so many different roles that you don't have anything to really clean up.
Hmm.
So you're just coming together at a time when you can just be a real compliment to each other. And we went, well, yeah, what she said's true.
Yeah.
What a wonderful confirmation,
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
So whether you believe in past lifetimes or not, we felt like, there was something, we were coming unencumbered to
Mhm.
have this relationship to mirror back each other's beauty and wondrously madeness.
Well, what a wonderful thing to be able to experience. And that's one of the things that I admire about both of you. I met you a long time ago, probably back 1998 or 99, I believe. And you both, whether I've seen you on the street or in some of your workshops or just coming into my office when you would come into the Frontiers office, you always are smiling, both of you. And you always have this aura of just peace and love about you. So
Mm.
that's what I see in both of you. And that's what's always attracted me to both of you to be my friends. So thank you.
Mhm. Absolutely. Thank you.
So give us one, and you can both say something if you want to. What's one of the best aspects of your relationship? What do you enjoy the most about each other?
Me first.
Okay. You go, Donnie. You go.
Well, it's the best aspect, I'd say, is the fact that I get to eat off of his plate, but he can't eat off of mine.
Well, why is that? Why can he not?
Because all food is my food.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't like people picking out of my plate either, so I understand that.
Well, Donnie's a big foodie, and when we met, he really did say all of that, and I went, oh, okay, well, any rate, part of it is what he just demonstrated, which is there's a playfulness every single day of our lives that we share with each other that brightens us up, no matter how horrific our own personal worlds might be, or how horrific the outer world might be. There's a playfulness, there's a joy that we bring to each other that I have never experienced with anybody like
Hmm.
this. and it just feeds my soul. It grounds me in my body, and it just, it really is the perfect connection to enhance all of the ways in which we show up for other people in the world.
Well, I see you both as a role model with your relationship, and I have for many years. But to be able to be playful with each other, I can sit back, as you said that just now. I'm thinking back in my mind with
Yeah,
my two long-term relationships.
yeah.
I don't believe any of us in either of the relationships decided intentionally, let's be playful, let's make life playful with each other. What a
Mm,
wonderful thing to do, and how light and lovely that is.
absolutely.
Very good. Donnie, anything else you wanted to say about that?
Well, I just remember another very fun moment, playful, steeped in tragedy. When we were getting together, we were talking about moving in and so on. I lived in a big house, and Kirk lived in an apartment. I was saying, "Oh, what are we gonna do with all this stuff?" And then when about some little time later than that, I was at yoga class very early at 6 a.m. by myself, and Kirk and I had spent the night together. He wasn't at his apartment that night, or his house. It was a house. And then so I went off to yoga, and he went home. And then as soon as I got to yoga class, he knocked on the door at the yoga class. And I said, "What are you doing? Did you forget your key or something?" His house had burnt down.
Oh my gosh.
His house had burnt down the night we were together. And it did. And
Goodness.
It was all in the park. It was all in the garage,
yeah.
all in the middle of the street. The house was just, gone.
Anyway, so his house burnt down, and so the first thing we did was we went to Target, and we had hot dogs
And bought
and bought underwear. And the thing, and I had an epiphany in that moment as we were sitting there with hot dogs, and his house had just burnt down hours ago, and I had this epiphany. I looked out and saw all these people at 11 o'clock in the morning, and they were walking in the Target, and my epiphany was, darling, all these people here, each of them wears a larger dress size than I do. I'm sorry.
So as you can see, even on maybe one of the most traumatic days of at least my personal life, we found a way to be playful with it while absorbing the fact that, wow, this was just a huge, it was a huge shift. But it kind of playing into probably even your audience is for me, and I think for both of us, besides the fact that he didn't have to worry about all of the junk that I had in my house to move into his house, and that there wasn't really much left other than a handful of boxes, or we have actually a Buddha over there that is a wooden Buddha, and there's no reason that it didn't get burned up in the fire, but it didn't. So it was kind of like, oh, that's really important. What I want to get across, though, is I love the word. It's called the Lord's Prayer, but when Jesus said, to his followers to pray like this, and hallowed be thy names. Hallowed means to sweep out, or to soften the earth, or to plow your way through. And what I knew was I got hallowed that day, that I got emptied out, as the Buddhist would say, that really pretty much all of my whole life was in that house and literally was gone. And so a new beginning for us together to build and become whatever it is that Spirit was guiding us into. And it was shortly after that we took a trip to London. And while we were in London, I had one of those mystical moments of actually, and some people would say I was having PTSD. For me, it was a mystical moment of I literally we made love, to be honest. We made love in the morning, and the next thing I knew, I didn't know who I was. I didn't know who he was. And what, to make a long story short, is that it became a moment where my guides, I call them, all kind of came rushing in. And so a new level of guidance, and I'd already had a lot of guidance before, but it was like now they had a voice, now they had a way of communicating with me. So the gift of that clearing out was, it actually created, I think, an energetic expansiveness for me to hold now new possibilities of knowing information, how to love and serve people even better through my guides.
Well, I think that's a beautiful story. That puts you in a place of being grateful, of peace, of what was a tragedy that most people may not have come through very as easily as you did with that. So
Yeah,
what a
absolutely.
beautiful way to look at that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and even in the bio, you talked about kind of midwiving the dying, and we're currently actually doing some work with folks about practicing dying so we can be more alive. But I think both of us really understand that concept of you have to clear out a space to fill it up. And so making sure that you keep clearing out the space and making sure that what you're filling it up with is actually just more love, more light, more of whatever it is that spirit has for our shared purpose, for our individual purposes or callings, to serve people.
In New Thought, we call that clearing the path is a big dump. A big spiritual dump comes in.
Yeah.
You know?
We do a lot of big dumps.
Yeah,
don't we?
right. Yeah, I love it.
Exactly. Well, let's switch just a little bit. I'd like to hear you share with us a little bit about how did each of you get started on a spiritual path, and did you develop that early in your years before you knew each other, and or was that something that you both sort of joined in together and did? How did your spiritual path begin separately?
Well, as you mentioned, I'm a musician, and that's always been my number one interest in life has been music, and so that by itself is a spiritual path, even if I didn't know that. And the other thing that is very important for me is service. And so at a certain point in my life, I thought, how can I be of service with music? And because I'm a queer boy, I thought of a queer way to do it. And I started playing in hospitals in very odd spots, not at I played at the reception area, but in much odder spots than that. I finally got permission to go into the emergency room and into the ICU and to all kinds of very odd spots and play for people or just create a vibration.
Alzheimer's clinics, a lot.
Yes, just all kinds of places.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'd even show up at places not announced and just play for people. And so that just took me to a different level. And as you mentioned, after I had done that for a while, I had a deep mystical experience, unprovoked, unthought of, on anything. It just happened. I just fell into it, and playing for an Alzheimer's residence, and just sank into a vision where I saw the face of Christ in the woman with Alzheimer's. And it was
someone told me. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I was just going to say years ago, I believe I shared this with y'all on your show. I had an experience in my garage, after my mom and sister died. But they call that the experience that you and I had. Someone told me it's called quickening of the spirit. Have you ever heard that before?
Sure.
Yes, but I never thought about it in that way.
Yeah.
But I think but the thing important about it that it's not that I just saw a vision. I felt it in my body. As I tell people, it was like the Niagara Falls of love, standing under Niagara Falls and just receiving the love. And it changed my life.
Thank you for sharing that. And it shows, Donnie. It shows in you, and it shows in Kirk as well. Just when y'all walk down the street, people can feel your aura. So it's wonderful. Let's switch gears just a little bit, because one of the ways that, I met you back in the Frontiers days when y'all were advertisers, actually, and different things that we would show up at. So I've known you for a long time.
Mhm.
throughout the community here. But one of the things that we did together was I was on your show, Queer Tribe Conversations,
Uh-huh.
and you so wonderfully let me sort of tell my story and how I got out to California and what my life was all about. So thank you for doing that. But let's talk a little bit about Queer Tribe Conversations. Are you still doing that? And
Mhm.
what fill my audience in on what the purpose of these conversations are and what you're hoping to promote with them.
Mhm. Mhm.
You tell, Bunny.
Yeah, sure, sure. Yeah. Yeah, my own personal belief, and I don't expect anybody to necessarily hold the same truths in the same way, but my own personal belief is that we all choose to come to the planet in the bodies, in the settings, in the families in which we occur. So as queer people, I believe that we all chose to come here as queer, and that part of being gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgendered, I plus, that all of those expressions of, for me, are expressions of the divine, and the imago Dei, the image of God is incredibly diverse, and to understand too that I believe that we're a tribe in the sense that, if nothing else, we have a common oppression, which is, obviously bold and loud and scary at times in the days in which we're currently living. But as a tribe, I believe also that we have some shared callings. And I think, Brock, you brought up part of being in doing these calls is to be a bridge builder. And I see LGBTQ people being bridge builders, because we're born into every family, we're born into every tradition, we're born into every faith tradition, we're born into every race. So I think in our literal physical bodies, energetically, we have memory of probably our lifetimes encoded there, but also of being uh, different people at different times, and different orientations at different times. So that's just my personal belief, but it makes it really easy for me to imagine us as bridge builders. How could we not be bridge builders? Because how could we not know that, oh, the whole spectrum is what we've already probably experienced in past lives. And
Mhm.
even if we haven't, I believe there's a calling. So that would be the other sub part of this, is that all of us are called, and part of our queer identity, for me, is that's a calling. And not every queer person is going to be called or answer the call, I should say. They're all being called, but they may not answer the call, to see that somehow their queerness is their spirituality, the divine expression being put out into the world, so that the tapestry of healing can take place. And then third part is that queer people throughout all history have had really unique roles in which we've played. One of the roles that I look to kind of both archetypally, but as real, is there. I worked with Melodoma Somé for a while, who is the African Dagra shaman or elder, and in his tribe, his African tribe, they have what are called the gatekeepers, and the
Hmm.
gatekeepers are actually gay men. They don't use the word gay. They don't need to, but gay men are then called as part of a subset of the tribe, because they have a specific role, and that role is that they go into their caves, they touch each other and invoke the ancestors, and move into an ecstatic space so that they can kind of download what do the ancestors, does Great Spirit, what does the earth want from us and for us as a tribe. And then they, as gay men, are bringing those gifts back into the tribe. I see that we have always played those roles, but much of our histories have been erased or eradicated or suppressed. But we're in every tradition. We've always been in every tradition, and I see us as big seekers of the divine. So that's kind of why I created Queer Tribe, was to bring voices for other folks, our allies, as well as queer people, to understand how we play so many beautiful roles and have throughout time, and drop all of this shame and guilt and oppression, negative stuff that gets thrown at us all the time, because we can have full faith and knowledge. We're not an accident. We're here on purpose, and we're here to help save the planet.
Amen, brother. I totally believe everything you just said.
Good.
Thank you for sharing that. And I love that you use the word tribe, and I've heard you use that before in the past. But right now, it really resonated with me as I'm sitting here that the word tribe means I belong, and the word tribe means I have people. And for a lot of us, we don't have those two things, when we first come out or something of that nature. But I love the fact that it's called a tribe, because it gives me a warm, comfortable feeling that I have people that I can go to. And also is that you said that we're here on purpose, and gay people are here on purpose. And I truly believe that we are the balancers of the universe, and that we are here for a specific reason, to be exactly who we are. And there is nothing wrong with us and or anyone else that's within the LGBTQIA plus community. But it really resonated with me what you said, and I'm going to use that word tribe going forth in the future, and I'll let them know that you taught me that. But at any rate, thank you for bringing that sentiment to the floor for that. Thank you.
Yeah.
What about a little bit about Flesh and Spirit and the Mystery School? We want to know about that also. Can you go into that? The both of you go into that a little bit?
Sure.
Well, Flesh and Spirit arises from the idea that spirituality and our bodies are one, are related. It's kind of the idea. This is, if you even take a higher view than that, when you think about spirituality, I would propose that spirituality just has to do with consciousness. As we approach spirituality, what we're trying to, I would say, is we're trying to raise our consciousness. And how does that happen at all? Well, the ancients have taught us, and I believe it's true, that where does consciousness reside? It has a place it resides. It's not between our ears. It's in every cell of our body. Every cell of our body has consciousness and can be activated. So helping to raise consciousness, the idea is consciousness through the body. That's basically all that yoga does, by the way, and other somatic works through. Its whole purpose is just to raise consciousness. It's a non-spiritual spirituality, so to speak. And our sexuality is a very active, alive way to experience the body and raise that consciousness. I remember being in body electrics workshops and having ecstatic massages and having a spiritual experience. It felt like I was in church.
But it does lift us to that point,
Yeah. So that's the basic thought of Flesh and Spirit. Spirituality through eroticism, not sex. So people will call us all the time, or not all the time, but occasionally they're gonna be fucking and sucking. Well, you don't need us for that. There's plenty of places around here in San Francisco. Instead, it's going to be more about getting into your body more and feeling more your connection with somebody else through, yes, that erotic feeling, yes, Yes.
and also listening to what your body is saying
Yes.
to you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Exactly. Well, y'all, we need to take a break for about 2.5 or 3 minutes right here. And
Okay.
when we get back, guys, I wanted to talk a little bit about Donnie's book and also the Mystery School. And then
Okay.
if we have time, I've got a couple of other things I'd love for you to talk about as well.
Okay.
But if y'all will give us about 2.5 minutes, everyone, stay with us on New Thought Media Network. We'll be right back in about 2 minutes
Okay.
with Kirk and Donnie. Thank you.
Thank you.
Watch me change when you change the way you look at things. The things you look at change. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
All right, I believe we're back on New Thought Media Network with Kirk and Donnie. So when we left for the break, we were talking about flesh and spirit. Can we go into the Mystery School just a little bit, guys?
Sure.
Wonderful.
So the
Tell
Mystery
us a little bit about that.
Yeah. Well, it's an offshoot of the Flesh and Spirit, and back in the late 2000s, we started working. Had a business coach, and we're trying to figure out what we're going to do, or what the business that we're going to have. We told him about Flesh and Spirit, and he's very broad-minded, not a gay man at all, but very, very broad-minded. And we told him about this work, and he said, well, did you guys ever think that this work should not just for gay men? Shouldn't it be for the whole world? I mean, other kinds of people. And that's, oh, wow, we never thought of that before. So, that's when we founded the Missing Thread. So it's for other kinds of people. And what it turned out to be for, well, not just directed at, but many women were very interested in it, that were entrepreneurs. So obviously we kind of downplay the naked part and the sensual part, but still the essence of the work. So we ended up working with quite a few entrepreneurs, some men, but lots of women, and starting teaching them how to do this type of work as well.
So the Missing Thread became kind of the venue for us to work with everybody from any sexual orientation, any gender, and bring kind of the good news of our work that Flesh and Spirit was all about, which is that I want to come back to, some of what Donnie was saying. So for the origination of flesh and spirit really came out of the AIDS epidemic.
Mhm.
And at the time, I was still in grad school studying behavioral medicine, and then later became a professor there, teaching about how our bodies hold stories.
Mhm.
And so the common thread between both flesh and spirit and the Missing Thread Mystery School is that we have stories in our bodies, and it's back to that clearing out stuff and opening up to replacing it with a new experience. And for most of us, we've all experienced traumas in our lives, if not directly, indirectly. And we either have an accumulative effect of those traumas, or we have, a major trauma that just gets embedded. Either way, that experience is in our bodies. And so our work in both flesh and spirit and the missing thread is to help people unpack that trauma and find and use many different tools and techniques, some of which we personally have developed, and some we've gathered from other healers throughout the world and throughout time, as well as good science. But putting all those things together, how can we help people de-traumatize and come into what we call the three alchemies of our work, which is to awaken, to remember who we are, and to come home to our bodies. So the coming home for many of us, I believe, even in this time, is, when we get threatened energetically, people, whether it's the shamans or good science at this point, we understand that when threat happens, we dissociate from our bodies. And so we leave our bodies. So I had that experience growing up of dissociating from my body. So when it came to things like, having out-of-body experiences or having dreams and visions, that's a piece of cake. Was not a piece of cake for me was to actually inhabit my body, to fully be alive and well in every cell of my body without a shield, without filtering out the threats of intimacy and connection with people. So we've taken all the work from flesh and spirit and brought it into the missing thread, and much of the work is about what we call body story work, and shedding whatever it is that we need to shed so that we can replace it with a new experience. But our work is very experiential, so it's not just teaching people didactic information, which is great and fabulous. I mean, I was a psychotherapist for 17 years. I listened to people. They made incredible changes. But now engaging the body in the healing process actually shifts the whole dynamic and accelerates the whole dynamic of healing. I got the privilege of working with Elizabeth Kubler-Ross before she died, and she used to talk about, there are 4 quadrants to everybody's life, and that's our intellectual self, our emotional self, our spiritual self, and our physical self. And when we work on all 4 parts at the same time, we just escalate the process of healing, of liberation, and manifesting our heart's desires. So being in our purpose and feeling activated in that purpose, all of that happens when we declutter all of this stuff, but we've got to declutter it experientially as well as refill experientially. So replacing the wounded experience with a healed experience, with an ecstatic experience. And that's where we've seen literally sometimes miracles take place, just because people changed their mindset, but their mindset was through the whole body. So I hope that gives you at least a little some gyms to work from.
It does. It gave me a whole lot. And it
Yeah,
actually reminded me, you probably know Greg Braden, the author.
I do.
And,
Yes.
he talks about in his book, it was one of the books I had to read for seminary,
Mm,
was how it's the feeling nature. It's not so much our words,
yeah.
but it's the words perhaps with our deepest feeling nature that brings about our life, brings
Yeah.
about our existence, brings about what we see and what we experience. And
Sure.
so, just with what you're saying, that feeling nature, is if we can tap into how do we feel about this situation, and what is coming home, so to speak, you
Hmm.
know? So a lot of I'd never thought about that. It took me years to understand that and to think about that and to incorporate that into my life. But that feeling nature is very important. So I'm glad that you do that, and I would like to know more about that, and we'll talk about that personally. But
Okay.
at any rate, um, we still got about 15 minutes left. So wonderful.
Right.
Um, I wanted to get into. I know that you do. We've talked about the ecstatic rituals and things of that nature. Um, what about the Reiki and the massage classes that you do?
Sure.
Um, Give us a little bit of insight into what's the difference of those.
Sure.
Well, Kirk and I are both certified massage therapists here in California, and one day when we were going to do some other event, we had some extra time, wanted to fill it up, so we decided just to teach the guys a little massage, and we found that it was very popular and guys really were interested in it. And what we later discovered was that there is a niche for guys that would like to learn some massage but don't want to take the whole professional course, which is 600 hours and $10,000. They don't want that much. So, but there is a hunger to want to learn how to massage properly. So there's that niche. We discovered that niche. So what we started doing was offering these, we call them massage basics classes, where in 3 hours, we'll teach them the very basics of body mechanics and one body part. Like for example, back is our next body area. Then a month later, we'll teach the class again, but this time we'll do a different body part. Like after back, it would be back of arms. And we just go through every body part once a month until after about 6 or 8 months, you've gone through the whole body. But each time we're doing the all important body mechanics, so people know how to use their bodies, so they don't for their backs, or save their backs and their other. So that's what the massage basics is. And then the massage exchange is simply that, is where guys get together and just have a massage experience with each other. So we have some ice-breaking little exercises. I think they're fun little exercises, just kind of get them touching and feeling. And there's a gentle undressing of each other. It's really kind of fun. Guys seem to like it. And then we get them on tables, and then we have each guy's on the table for an hour, and they get massage in 4 rounds of 15 minutes each, and then we switch the masseurs, but they stay on the table. Just kind of a whole scene of massage.
Well,
Yeah.
right now,
Go ahead.
I was going to say that right now I'm sort of emulating what that would feel like, and I'm like, wow, it would be wonderful to have a massage right now.
Yeah.
But
Right. Absolutely.
What's the how does the massage that you do help you in your death and dying work? I know that you talked about that a little bit. Is it the ritual, the ecstatic massage ritual?
Massage. Yeah. So the ecstatic massage is using breath, using sound, and using massage to raise the energy so that we go through kind of a life, death, and rebirth experience. So after a man's been on the table, or a participant's been on the table doing for almost an hour. So while that's happening, their body is waking up and the energy's moving. And then we have them do an experience where they actually hold their breath. It's called a big draw, or we call it bridging between the worlds, where you do kind of an isometric exercise, and you hold your breath as long as you can hold it, and then you release. And that's like going from death to rebirth. And then we actually cover cover the person with a sheet over their head so that they get to lay there and put some, ecstatic kind of music on or etheric music on to just kind of hold them in the grace of the moment of what did they just experience. And so doing an ecstatic massage is, sometimes it's just community building. It just makes people feel better. It always relaxes people, but sometimes people have visions. I see dead people all the time. I'm a big dead people person. So, I'm making connection with ancestors and often see them or hear a sense of what they might be saying. I remember we did a whole ecstatic massage retreat one time, and one of the brothers, right after the massage, went to bed that night, had a dream, and the dream took him now on his new path and his new calling. He had no idea that he had Native American ancestry in his blood, but while he was on the massage table, something came to him, and then in the dream, his great-great-grandmother came to him and said, "You are on a red path and you need to pursue that." And so it was because the channels got open through the massage that he was just like the gatekeepers. He was ready and willing to receive whatever information. And it took him on an amazing reclaiming journey of his past and his origins that had been hidden from him, from his family, because it was like a no-no to be a part of Native tradition. So the ecstatic massage is for me, it's an opener. It's opening the gates. It's opening the dimensions. It's opening, and when you do it in groups, it feels more, for me, again, like a portal is opening. So that the energetics is, I do, and we both do, this kind of work individually, but when you have a whole group of people doing it, and it just kind of opens up heaven's gates or earth's gates in a way that you feel, and you're open and receptive to whatever it is that's being imparted to you. So it's juicy stuff. Unlike, and I'll come back to your earlier question, was we do all this massage work, which leads into the ecstatic massage work, and we do Reiki trainings. And so the Reiki, though, is a passive experience. So we do a Reiki clinic once a month here in our studio. And we have practitioners we've trained to just lay hands on people. It's a clothed experience. It's for everybody, no matter what gender and orientation, but it's a passive experience of just opening up to the life force and being a channel of that life force. It has no dogma to it, but people will have just, again, gentle, soft experiences, or they'll wake up. Part of Reiki itself is the symbolism. One of the symbols for Reiki is about opening up the truth that will set you free. So what is it that you need to know to set you free, or to get you on a path of more direct healing? And so while doing Reiki, they may just kind of absorb something, but once again, they may have some impressions, or they may have a dream, or the facilitators might have some impressions. So it becomes this healing dialogue of learning information that oftentimes leads people further on their path of healing and escalating that process.
Well, I want to be a part of your next one. That sounds
good.
But listen here, guys, I can't believe it, but we have like 10 minutes left, 8 minutes left. But we've covered a lot, and it seems like we just got started.
I know.
So, will you guys come back another time, and let's go deeper and get into this even more?
I would love to. Yeah, I mean, I really believe that the more people get it, that our bodies are not separate from our spirits, the more we're going to heal ourselves and the planet. So I'd love to continue the conversation.
And thank you for letting that be your last thought as well. It's always about the healing. Thank you for that. Y'all, you have been wonderful guests. I really have enjoyed this, and I believe our listeners, our viewers, will and have gotten a lot out of this, and hopefully open some eyes and open some hearts to more understanding of this information. So thank you both for joining us. And y'all, what we're going to do is Donnie is going to play us out of here on a little bit of a meditation. If you want to watch, you can watch, and if you want to just close your eyes, you can listen. But we're going to allow Donnie to entertain us a little bit with a meditation going out. And we've come to the end of our show, so what's going to happen is, again,
Yeah,
Kirk and Donnie, thank you.
ready.
And then next week, y'all, just wanted to remind you that next week I've got Reverend Maggie Oman Shannon coming to discuss her ministry books and art, and what she does in her spiritual life as well. And also check out all the other great shows on New Thought Media Network at ntmedia.org. And I'm going to say goodnight, because what we're going to do is we're going to let Donnie just take us out of here, and when it's time, Peter's going to just click the button and we're going to be gone. But at any rate, thank you to the viewers. Thank you to everyone that participated today. And Peter, thank you. And of course, Kirk and Donnie, thank you so very much. And Donnie, are you ready?
Yes.
Let's go.
Mm.
Hmm.